Hi, my name is Ron Wilstein and I'm a broker at Keller Williams Luxury Properties Worldwide in Park City, Utah. Welcome to my video on how to price your property to sell in today's market. It's important that you determine the right list price for your property because it can make the difference between it selling or not. Price it too low and you leave money on the table. Price it too high and nobody wants to buy your property. Everyone wants to list their property at the highest possible price, but not so high that it doesn't sell. There are 4 steps to determining the right list price for your home or your condo or vacant land. Begin by determining the fair market value of your property. Next, apply the 10% rule, which will help you not to overprice your property, causing it not to sell. Third, look at the list to sold price ratio. And fourth, determine the desired length of time you want your property to be on the market. Determining the fair market value of your property is actually quite easy. You can consult with a real estate professional who can look at it, who can pull up past sales, and based upon the condition of your property, its location, other elements of value, can determine what the fair market value for your property is. Once you've determined that fair market value, you want to apply what I call the 10% pricing rule. Now, I've been in Park City for 25 years selling real estate, and I've watched trends over the years. I've learned in the last 2.5 years in particular that an acceptable list price for Park City properties is up to 10% above the fair market value of your property. An unacceptable list price is more than 10% above the fair market value of your property. Let me illustrate it here with this graph. If we have here the fair market value of your property, and if you list it at that price, you're likely to sell it within the first 3 months. This is a reasonable expectation. If you happen to list your property below its fair market value, you can expect a much faster sale, and often you'll have multiple offers by doing so. But most people don't want to do that. They instead rather build in a price that allows for some room for negotiations but maximizes what they can get for their property. If we look at, for instance, at 10% above the fair market value, that seems to be kind of the cap and the point for where you can set it in terms of price, allow yourself some room for negotiations, and still sell it within a reasonable period of time. I'm suggesting by this graph here that between 6 to 9 months, if you priced it approximately 10% above the fair market value. Could be faster, pleasant surprise, but you're making an effort by trying to get 10% more, and it may take you a little more time. If that's too long, you might determine that you'll list it at 5% above the list price, and of course the time on the market is likely to shrink to between 3 to 6 months. Again, still allowing some room in negotiations to come off your price and still make a sale. What you don't want to do is you don't want to list your property for more than 10% above the fair market value, because as I mentioned before, over the last 2.5 years, we're finding a very strong resistance point in buyers, and they're just not buying the property. So if you do that, it's a form of self-sabotage, if you will, where you're actually interfering with your likelihood of selling your property. Next, you want to consider the list to sold price ratio. Now, sellers are typically coming off their list price between about 4 to 6% during negotiations to sell it. So they're selling at 94 to 96% of their list price. In some categories, the market has tightened up and the inventory has been reduced, and so we're seeing that closer to 3% and in some instances 2%. The absorption rate is an important factor to consider when marketing your property. The absorption rate tells us how long it should take for the current inventory of similar properties to yours to sell in the current marketplace. How you determine the absorption rate is this. You begin by identifying comparable sold properties. They're similar to your property, they've sold in the past, and this is a starting point. Next, you calculate the rate of sales, and then thirdly, you calculate the absorption rate. This is done by dividing the number of comparable sales during the past year by 365 days to get the frequency of sales in the current marketplace. For instance, let's say you did your research and you found that there are 15 comparable sales that occurred during the past year. You divide 365 by those 15 sales, and that gives you a rate of sale of 24.33. We would say here that we are selling a property every 24 days. That's similar to your property. That's the rate of sale. When we come to absorption rate, we're now looking at the current supply of comparable properties, that which is listed and active on the multiple listing service and available to all buyers out there, times the rate of sales, that is over the past 12 months, just like I illustrated, and that will give you the absorption rate. That will give you the sold time for the current inventory on the market. As an example, let's say there are 6 comparable properties listed. If you multiply 6 by 24, that was the rate of sales, that gives you 144 days. Take that 144 days divided by 30, as in 30 days, and it tells you that the current supply of properties would take 4.8 months to sell, assuming that no new properties come on the market. This means that the absorption rate of the current inventory of properties for sale is a 5-month inventory. Next, you want to ask yourself, how long do I want my property to be on the market? You begin by, again, evaluating the rate of sales of comparable properties. You evaluate the absorption rate, and you decide how quickly do you want to sell your property. Now, that may be an arbitrary timeline, or it may be something set by a job transfer or desire to move from here to another place. Whatever are the elements, you decide how long do you want to have your property on the market. Set your list price based upon the desired length of time on the market after adjusting for absorption rate. Finally, I want to share with you a little bit about our force multiplier marketing system. This is what's unique about our approach and why we're very effective at selling properties. A force multiplier is a military term, and it's used to describe the warfare strategy of attacking an enemy through multiple methods that are carefully coordinated together to have a devastating impact. In sense of military, if you had a country and you attacked another country and you did it by land and by sea and by air and by intelligence and by special forces, and you combined all these different strategies that independently work effectively, but when you combine them together you have a greater impact. That's a force multiplier. Well, if that works in military terms, it also works in real estate terms, that you can identify the most effective marketing strategies and not use them independently, but in careful coordination and combination, and you have a greater impact and a greater success. This is what I've done. I've taken 8 proven strategies. They consist of internet marketing, double multiple listing service exposure, 24-hour instant property information, Park City newsletters, Keller Williams Luxury Properties Worldwide Collaboration, buyer specialists, real estate webinars, and 3 specially designed buyer search websites. And by combining these together, we have had tremendous success in selling properties. If you're interested in learning more about the force multiplier system, you can go to thewilsteinteam.com/force multiplier or thewilsteinteam.com/FMMS. And there's a video there that will describe it in greater detail, and you can see if it's something that you're interested in. Does it work? Works really good. Last year, the average Park City agent sold 1 property every 91 days. Over the course of a year, they sold 4 properties. Our team sold 43 properties. We had 1 sale on average every 8 days. Or to put it another way, we sold 11 properties for every 1 that the average Park City agent sold. So it works very well, and if you're interested in selling your property, it's something you may want to consider. I've got a magazine entitled Smart Seller. It provides you with an update on the Park City market, and it talks about the force multiplier and other helpful tips for sellers considering listing their property. You want to do it effectively, and this is a helpful guide. So feel free to just send me an email. I'll be happy to send that to you in the mail. Finally, I want to wrap up and just show you how you can utilize my website to receive automatic notifications whenever a property comes on the market that is perhaps in your neighborhood or in your condominium project. It's an easy way to set it up, and once it's set up, you don't do anything. It just emails come and notify you whenever a match occurs. So let me just show you how to do this. If you go to our website, BuyParkCityRealEstate.com, here's the home page on the website. A lot of helpful information. What you can do is you can go to this pull-down tab, search by subdivisions, and we have many of the major subdivisions here, or you can type in a subdivision or a condominium property. If I went to, I'll just pick Pinebrook, click on the Pinebrook page. It gives me a lot of helpful information about homes in Pinebrook, condominiums in Pinebrook, and you can even watch a webinar on it. But you may want to dial into an area that isn't reflected there, so I'm just going to type into here a subdivision, and I'll type in Snowflower as a condo, and you see that the choices start to autofill. I'll click on that condominium property, and you can do it with a neighborhood, you can do it with multiple neighborhoods or condominiums, and click on Find. What that will instantly do is take you to the properties that are currently on the market, and you can click on them and get lots of details. But what you'll notice is once you've done this, there's a place here where you can refine your search. And what you do is you can select bedrooms or bathrooms or price or neighborhoods or homes or condos. There's just a lot of different search categories if you want to narrow it down, or maybe just by clicking that you're happy with that. If you are interested in saving that search, and this is what makes it automatic, what you do is you log in to our search engine, and right now I'm logged in, so all I would have to do is click Save. You can name your search here, and you can put in here how frequently you'd like to be notified if any new properties come on the market. It's on weekly right here. It could be daily, it could be monthly, it could be never if you don't want to be bothered by it. But no one's ever going to call you. This is just going to send you information on new properties in the areas of interest to you. You click on it and it takes you automatically to that. So you don't even have to go to the website looking around unless you want to. You can simply wait until you get an email, and it will tell you that there's a new property on the market in your neighborhood. So there you go. If you happen to want to know what's happening in your particular subdivision, there's another way to do that, and I'll just show you that here in just a moment. You can request what we call property value assessment, and you can do this a number of ways. You can go to the website, you can go to the WillistonTeam.com /property value, and it will take you to a form that's very much like what you're seeing underneath the page that you're watching this webinar on our website. If you're watching that webinar, let me just go to it so that I'm looking at the same thing you're looking at. Here's the webinar. If you simply scroll down, it gives you some notes on what I've covered in this webinar, and go a little further down, and you'll come to a spot titled "What's Your Property Worth?" You put in your property name or your address, whatever it is, identify as a home, condo, or vacant land, number of bedrooms, bathrooms, and then simply put in your name. If you're registered, it automatically fills it in, and your email address, and scroll down a little further and you hit submit form. That will send it to me. I'll send you an update on what your property is worth, and it's just that simple. So it takes you about 30 seconds to fill out that form, if that much, and you can get information anytime you want on your property. So good ways to learn about the marketplace. With that in mind, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me. You can email me at ron@thewillistonteam.com. If you'd like me to call you, include your phone number and a preferred time, and I'll be happy to contact you. Thank you for watching this video webinar, and good luck with your real estate investment in Park City.